The annual San Francisco Giants FanFest Open House at Oracle Park is one of the coolest events that the Giants do each year. It's a super rare opportunity to get into the clubhouse, into the dugouts, on the field, all the areas that are normally off limits to the public. But many have asked, is it really worth your time given the huge crowds? In this video, I'll take you inside and show you firsthand what it's all about, and most importantly, show you that it definitely is worth your time. Plus, along the way, I'll give you 10 tips to make the most of your time so you don't spend your entire day waiting in lines. I'm Jimmy Carnes. I've lived in San Francisco for 20 years. I'm a huge Giants fan, and as a 415 Club season ticket holder, I know this ballpark inside and out. So let's get into it. Okay, right off the bat, the very first tip is arrive early. This might be the most important tip of the entire video. The day that we went, there was a bobblehead giveaway, so we thought we would get there 30 minutes before the gates open, and that would give us plenty of time. But as you can see, there were thousands of people in line already. This immediately made us nervous about getting a bobblehead. How many people do you think are ahead of us?
2,000.
What are our odds of getting a bobblehead?
1 in 2,000.
1 in 2,000. Another tip, the main entrance is in the front at the Willie Mays gate. However, you can also enter through the left field dual gate, which is in the rear by the drawbridge. This line is significantly shorter. Luckily for us, by the time we got to the front of the line, there were still plenty of bobbleheads left, so we each got one. These bobbleheads were super cool. They were Brian Wilson, and they had fuzzy beards. Thank you. Okay, now that we're in the ballpark, it's time for tip number 2, and that tip is go immediately and see the dugouts. The lines later in the day for the dugouts will be the longest lines in the ballpark for any activity, and if you get in early, you'll save yourself a ton of time by seeing them before they get crowded. Plus, you'll probably have enough time to check out the batting cages behind the visitors clubhouse. Look at that pure swing. One of the coolest parts about visiting the ballpark before the season starts is you get a sneak preview of all the improvements that they've made during the off-season. A few things I noticed this year were they were renovating the Coca-Cola slide in the outfield. Hopefully they don't ruin that. And they installed netting all the way around the infield to protect fans from fly balls. Moving on to tip number 3, since you have a rare opportunity to be on the field like the players, take a little time to view things from the players' perspective. It's really cool to see the ballpark from the field and to see a lot of the things that you'll never see really in the stands. You can do things like get a real feel for how tall the outfield fences are, and could you actually rob a home run if you had to. One thing that I had never noticed before is that if you look closely behind the fence near the right field foul pole, there's actually a luxury suite back there, and it's called the Candlestick Suite. And if you look inside, there are the original seats from Candlestick Park. It's really cool. Although the FanFest Open House does give you access to a lot of areas that are normally off limits, tip number 4 is that there are limitations. For example, you can't run the bases and you can't access the infield. All of the outfield and the upper parts of the stadium are also closed. And there were a few other letdowns that we discovered. We're going to try to get in the Gotham Club. Well, we tried to get into the Gotham Club, but it's members only today. Thought it might be open to the public. The other bummer is you have to have some kind of a wristband to get a picture with Lucille, which I'm not even sure how you get wristbands. Tip number 5. Aside from the bobblehead giveaway, the giveaways inside the stadium are a little bit underwhelming, as are the fan activities. There's a few things like speed pitch and a few different fan batting cages, but not much beyond that. The Giants also seem to use this as an opportunity to offload and sell at a discount a lot of their unwanted merch. Things like autographs from players who are no longer on the team. Speaking of former players, one of the biggest features of the open house is that they bring in Giants alumni and do a Q&A session with them on top of the dugouts. While we were there, they had Dave Dravecki, Jeffrey Leonard, Sergio Romo, JT Snow, among other players. This is cool, but it's kind of difficult to follow the conversations because they're being broadcast over the PA, and it's really echoey and kind of muddy. So tip number 6 is that if you're interested in the Q&A, I highly recommend you sit in the seats right in front of the players, so it's easier to follow their conversations. Tip number 7 is do not miss out on the clubhouse tour. To get into the clubhouse, you have to go through this tunnel that's normally off limits. It's in the lower section. I'm calling this hidden because when we were there was no line, and most people in the ballpark didn't even realize that this was open. Once you go in, there's a long hallway that usually only the Giants players have access to, plus the lucky few fans that sit behind home plate. And then you go down a smaller hallway, and suddenly you walk into the Giants locker room. This was our first experience in a Major League Baseball locker room, and if you've never been in one, it's really cool. There are beautiful wood-paneled stalls that each of the players get. Since it was before the season, none of them were assigned yet, but it's just really cool being in this room. Also in the locker room is a most wanted poster with photos of all the Major League Baseball umpires, as well as a sign reminding players not to bet on baseball. And not sure if you caught this, but the Giants players scribbled out Angel Hernandez's face. Tip number 8, while you're under the stadium, don't forget to stop by and check out the Field Club Lounge. This is an area that I've actually never been to before, but it's a luxury suite underneath the stadium with its own private entrance and food court. If you'd like to rent this out for a Giants game, the prices start at about $10,000. Tip number 8 is don't spend your entire day just running from attraction to attraction, but also take some time to sit down and relax and enjoy the day. Spend some time with your kids, eat some garlic fries, drink an ice cold Coke, listen to the alumni talk. Really, you've got a long time. The ballpark's open for many hours. You'll see everything. Tip 9, don't skip the press box. The press box is actually pretty cool and it's worth a visit. It's located behind home plate and you have to get there through the concourse area. But once you go in, there's a lot of Giants memorabilia. You get to see the desks where all the different media outlets are assigned seats. Probably the coolest thing is there's some kind of weird bat phone that's monitored by the commissioner of baseball. All right, we finally made it to tip 10, the very last tip. And that tip is the answer to the question, is Giants FanFest worth it? Yes, it is definitely worth it. Absolutely, if you're a Giants fan, if you have kids, it's a super cool experience getting to see the ballpark behind the scenes, going into areas that you're normally not able to access. Yes, there are long lines. Yeah, some of the giveaways and activities are a little bit underwhelming, but at the end of the day, it's a free event and it includes a free bobblehead. You can't beat it. If this video helped you out, help me out by liking it and subscribing to my channel for more Giants, San Francisco, Bay Area, and beyond content. Thanks for watching.